Support for WUWM podcasts comes from University School of Milwaukee, fulfilling a values-based mission of developing learners, fostering leaders, and preparing citizens for pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. More information at usm.org/mission.
From 89.7 WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR, this is Lake Effect. I'm Joy Powers. Today we'll chat with the new leader of the Milwaukee Art Museum, who formerly led the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery. Then we'll tag along with the Milwaukee Public Library Educational Outreach Services team.
It's helping people with bringing the library literally to them because there might be a reason that they can't come to the library. It could be mobility or transportation restrictions that they are not truly able to come in, so we come to them.
Plus, we'll learn about Chimney Swifts in our birding podcast, Chirp Chat.
Hands down, my favorite thing about Chimney Swifts is their swirling tornado roosting behavior that they do.
All of that is coming up on Lake Effect. This is Lake Effect from 89.7 WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR. I'm Joy Powers, and thank you so much for joining us. Today we're looking back on some of our favorite stories from 2025. We'll start with this conversation with the new leader of the Milwaukee Art Museum. Kim Sayet was previously the director of the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery, where she worked to increase the representation of women and people of color in the collection. In May, President Trump claimed to have fired Sayet from the Smithsonian, in part because of her work to diversify its collection. Although the Smithsonian made it clear the president has no authority to fire its employees, Sayet decided to resign from her position a couple of weeks after the incident. But DC's loss is Milwaukee's gain. Sayet brings with her a wealth of knowledge and experience and a desire to invigorate the Milwaukee Art Museum space with new community engagement efforts. Sayet joins me in studio. Kim, thank you so much for being here on Lake Effect.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
So, how long have you been in Milwaukee so far?
Oh, gosh, I'm guessing maybe I'm rounding out 2 months. I've been on the job 4 weeks.
How are you liking it?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love Milwaukee people. They're so friendly. I love the city. I ride my bike to work. I know everyone says it's going to get colder. I don't believe you. It's just been amazing weather. But, of course, the museum is the reason I came, and it's such a fabulous institution. And, of course, it is on the lake, which is useful for the lake effect.
Very useful indeed. Now, you directed the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery for more than a decade.
12 years, yeah. I started on April Fool's Day, 2013, go figure.
What has that transition been like for you? Because the Smithsonian is a world-renowned institution, and of course the Milwaukee Art Museum is in its own way, but I would imagine the pressures are very different.
Yeah, I mean, they're very different organizations. I loved the Smithsonian, continue to love it. You know, it's a big institution that was set up for the increase and diffusion of knowledge, and everyone who works there truly feels that they have a mission, which is to help America and, of course, everyone who comes to America better understand our history and ourselves. It's a combination of the arts and sciences. And, you know, one of the brilliant things is thanks to the support of Congress, it's free. So that's a big difference, of course, from where you are now at the Milwaukee Art Museum. A national institution, a big museum, brings its own, bigger problems too. And I certainly feel for my colleagues right now because they're in a shutdown. So this is the first time in 12 years that I haven't had to negotiate or work with my team on a shutdown. And I feel a little bit sort of, I don't know, I'm watching from a distance and sending them my love.
Yeah. I mean, you yourself were in a bit of a firestorm, it seems like. The president said he fired you. That obviously put your name into headlines. And I have to imagine as a museum director, that was an odd situation to be in? What was that like for you?
I think the word odd is actually really appropriate because, of course, the President of the United States cannot fire any director of the Smithsonian. We work for the Secretary of the Smithsonian, brilliant scholar and historian, Dr. Lonnie Bunch. But it did feel very odd to suddenly be singled out because my programs, and I'm very proud of it, was to focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. As you may or may not know, the history of portraiture, which is a very elite art form, until we got photography, people had to be able to afford a painting or a sculpture, and it was very, very expensive. So it was, reserved for the elite, and they happened to be non-diverse people, mostly men. And so one of my big projects was to really reflect the words on the Great Seal of America, E pluribus unum, out of many one, so that when people came to what is their portrait gallery, they could identify with the people there and could feel welcome and part of the nation. So it was an odd thing to be singled out. Having said that, I think it's kind of an odd role. A director of a Smithsonian is constantly answering various questions, whether it's from a member of Congress or from a member of the public. We were constantly getting letters from someone asking or saying that we'd said something wrong on a label or whatever, and we always took it very, very seriously. And the power of that is that the people of America truly see the Smithsonian as their museum, their Smithsonian. And I always felt it was such an honour and a privilege because they cared deeply and they would write to you and they would call you and they would tell you if they felt that, you were doing something that was wrong or you needed to think about. So it was a huge privilege to be there. Now what I love that I didn't have director of the Smithsonian, which is a national, but what I now have is a really close community. And I love that. I love the fact that my board members all live close. We get to see each other. I love the fact also that we're the largest art museum in Wisconsin, so I'm going to embrace the entire state of Wisconsin at this point and the Midwest. It is also an international collection, so I was dealing just with American art pretty much. And as you can probably tell from this accent, I have an international background, so I loved that. I also just feel like the location. The Portrait Gallery is not on the National Mall, for which I was always quite grateful, actually, because we had a very large local audience that was coming to see us. But here we're on this amazing location on the lakefront, and I feel that the Milwaukee Art Museum can lean into that much more and become a destination for people across the country and even across the world to come.
It's interesting hearing you talking about people writing in about, misinformation on plaques or whatever it might be, because, of course, as a public radio station, we also have very
yes, yeah,
very passionate listeners.
And they still do. We would write 140 words. In English. I also went dual language when I was there, so English and Spanish side by side. So people, when I was first there, I was walking through the museum saying, "This is exhausting. Who reads all this stuff?" But it turns out that they do, or they'll take a picture with their phone. And now that is something that I'm talking to our team at Milwaukee Art Museum more about. Is I want more information. I want people to have more information written in a way that is super accessible. But Joy, as you can appreciate too, not just reading, but also video and audio, because I think people's learning styles have changed thanks to technology, and I think about it as sort of layers of interpretation that meet different audiences where they are at. And that's a big job, but also extraordinarily exciting and a huge privilege.
With this idea of community building, what do you see happening or changing at the museum to accommodate a bit more of this kind of back and forth between the museum itself and the community it serves?
I'm still at the early days and starting to get to know the team at Milwaukee Art Museum. I can tell you what I did at the Portrait Gallery, and to the extent that we can or cannot adopt that here will be up to, it's a different institution, it's a different city. But what I feel really passionate about is that we're a centre of creativity, where it's not just about seeing works of art on the walls or in the galleries, but rather it's a centre where we just happen to have those things, but you also come for an experience. And more amazing contemporary artists are doing entire installations that you can walk into. Or, how we think about the design of our exhibitions become an experience themselves. But also music and performance. When I was in Washington, we had a dance company in residence. So I'm kind of interested to learn more about the creative community here and who's there. It was a great partnership with the Dana Soon Burgess Dance Company, where they did not have a theatre to perform in. But they partnered with our curatorial team and they designed new productions around our exhibitions and people came. So we promoted them, they performed in our spaces and it worked both ways. But whether it's slam poetry or it's a reading circle or whether it's making art in the galleries or whether it's taking a tour or having a great cup of coffee, that it really is a moment where you can kind of leave the craziness of your everyday existence for a minute, come into, the Milwaukee Art Museum, top yourself up with maybe some new knowledge or a new idea or meet someone you didn't ever know before, even if it's reading somebody's words on a text panel, and then leaving again. And so part of the challenge, I think, is to remove or lower to the extent that I can the barriers of entry, so that everyone feels that they can come in and pop in. I think it's a gift to yourself, it's a gift to your family, but it's also a gift to a smarter generation because we know that when we can exchange ideas and particularly out-of-the-box thinking, that really contributes to innovation and, as I say, experimentation, and that's really the heartbeat of the arts. Art is about experimentation and innovation. And then pass that information on to others, we all get better for it. And so I think that's, part of the larger project that I'm interested in.
As you look to the future of the museum, what are your biggest goals?
I want more people to come. I want more people to feel that they're welcome and they come. I want more diversity in terms of everybody who comes, and that's diversity in terms of age group, race, gender, different backgrounds. I think there's sometimes a perception that sports people are not arts people. It's completely not true. And so I think it's really making this a place that people feel very welcome and proud of. A lot of people in Milwaukee know us because of the building, the Calatrava, which incidentally will be celebrating 25 years next year, if you can believe. I would like people to also understand what's inside and feel really proud to come and take, when your mum's in town or you've got a friend coming from overseas or you just want to give yourself the gift of creativity and, out-of-the-box thinking that you consider the Milwaukee Art Museum.
All right. Well, Kim, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Thanks. All right. Be well.
Kim Sayet is the new director of the Milwaukee Art Museum. She was previously the director of the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery. The library is more than just books. And our series with the Milwaukee Public Library called Books and Beyond showcases just that. We share resources, book recommendations, and some cool stuff you might not know about. For this edition of Books and Beyond, we're leaving the library and going out into the community with Milwaukee Public Library's Educational Outreach Services Team, or EOS. Here's Lake Effect's Audrey Nowakowski.
Ready? Yeah. Jenny Wright, Kevin Atkinson, and Ku Vang travel by Sprinter van to various stops all over Milwaukee, like childcare sites, nursing homes, senior living centers, and housing authority apartments. Their job is to make any community space into a pop-up library branch. Jenny says the idea is to meet people where they are.
It's helping people bringing the library literally to them where they can check out books, check in books, browse, put things on hold. We will take their order and deliver to them, like essentially, because there might be a reason that they can't come to the library. It could be mobility or transportation restrictions that they are not truly able to come in, so we come to them.
Good morning. Hello. Good morning.
Hi. Yay, the librarian's here.
On the day I joined the EOS team, our first stop was the Riverview apartment building on Milwaukee's east side. It's a housing authority complex for low-income families, seniors, and people with disabilities. Library Day is the second Wednesday of every month for these residents, and it's something they look forward to, even combining it with coffee and snacks for everyone to enjoy after they pick out their books. Before the residents make their way down to the community room, the EOS team rolls in bins and bins of books, DVDs, and more for people to look through. Kevin Atkinson has been with the library for 28 years and with the EOS team for 16 of them. He explains what kind of library materials the team decides to bring.
Kind of start with a base of like general stuff, like a general mix, and then depending on the stop, throw in cookbooks and health books or urban fiction or more large print, or at our next stop we'll see there's a lot of Russian speakers, so we'll bring a whole bin of Russian language books. So it all depends on the site, so every site's a little bit different. Some DVDs are a thing, some are not. It just depends on the day and the site.
Kevin's favorite part of the job? The people he meets.
I just like to see all the people and get to know everybody, and there's a real sense of community, and you really get to know everyone, which is, really gives me joy. It makes me happy. And at first, when I first started, it was like having and I wasn't even that young, like extra grandparents. But now it feels like I got some really cool older cousins.
Yes.
So I just try to look out for them. And sometimes people will talk to us and just relate with us, because sometimes we're one of a few people. There's a lot of isolation, so we're one of a few people that they can talk to and trust and just hang out with for an hour. That's really important.
To set up a library site, the EOS team brings a laptop, an internet hotspot, and even a little receipt printer so that you know when your book is due. They can even make you a library card. Their streamlined process makes for quick work for the hour they spend at any given location. But make no mistake, becoming streamlined takes a lot of preparation, as Jenny explains.
So essentially the first 2 weeks of every month we have different sites that we visit, and we visit monthly. So the entire month preceding, that special Tuesday or that special Wednesday that we come and see you, we are taking your calls and putting your items on hold. We're putting things aside as new books come in, because what's really unique about these stops is we get to know our patrons really well. So there's definitely a sense of feeling out, I should hold this book for that one person at that one location, because she really likes history, and I think she'll really enjoy this biography about XYZ person. So yeah, essentially it's just kind of keeping people in mind as you get to know them. And of course we're always getting new patrons too, because people are always moving in to these kinds of facilities that we visit.
The EOS team inherited a lot of sites from the library's old bookmobile. However, Jenny notes the bookmobile had a lot of limitations for the kind of patrons they serve.
And a lot of people still assume we have a bookmobile, but we don't, because a bookmobile was essentially a bus, and you had to climb stairs to get inside of it, and it was one way. So if I have a walker, or if I'm limited with mobility, or if I have a wheelchair or a motorized scooter, I can't really use that service. So this is really, really brought down, I think, a lot of barriers to actually just come into the space and be able to browse and move around the community room. And obviously it's a community room too, so you've got coffee and food, and people truly are, they're already at home, they're meeting here anyway. So what a nice service to also monthly enjoy something like a guest speaker or a library. They bring people in all the time, and we're just somebody on their calendar.
Teresa, a regular patron and former winner of the Book Reader of the Month contest, was browsing a table of books when I met her at Riverview Apartments community room. She was looking for a title to simply catch her eye.
This is great, because since I can't get out and I'm not that mobile, They come, they bring me what I need. And then if there's something special I want, whether it's a DVD or for a book, all I have to do is tell Mr. over there, and he gets them for me.
Yeah. What do you like to read and listen to or watch?
Everything. Everything.
Yeah.
Some are spiritual, some are sometimes fantasy, crime. I watch a lot of crime shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like watch a lot of cooking shows.
And it seems like you've gotten to know the library crew here as well.
Yeah, I think they're wonderful because they I'm more concerned because, there's seniors in this building and they're the ones that come, and they get books. And for a lot of them here, it's like a pastime. They're able to read. They're able to cook meals from these different cookbooks and stuff, And some of them are healthy because there's a lot of diabetics in this building.
So the library is trying to help in what way they
Yeah.
can to help improve your lives?
Yeah, so every book that's here represent one portion of the people here in the building.
The EOS team also helped Riverview resident Brian Gumma connect with resources available through the Wisconsin Talking Book and Braille Library. He gets videos and audiobooks that he can play on a digital device.
Kevin hooks me up with it because the first time I told people that I was losing my sight somewhat was, and I could no longer read, that was a crisis point, was in this room.
Yes.
And he overheard it and he immediately helped me apply for the machine, and ever since then I've been using it.
That's amazing. What kind of titles do you like to listen to?
I like nonfiction mainly. Recently I've been reading Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams, which is taking forever to finish. It's like War and Peace, it goes on forever.
At this EOS visit, Brian was making returns and picking up more videos. He says he appreciates how Library Day brings the residents together.
It's also a very large community event for us because people love to come here, eat donuts and drink coffee, get to discuss building business that might not come up in a residents organization meeting. And everybody loves this day of the month. This is the big social event of the month for us.
Yeah, I know, it seems like a great way to start your day.
It is. And the coffee's good.
Yeah. As quickly as they assembled a pop-up library, the EOS team packed up all the books and loaded up the van for their next stop.
Your team? All right, you ready? I'm ready. All right, you ready?
I hopped in the 3-seater van filled with all the gear the team needs for rain or shine and rode along with Kevin and Kuvang. Vang was featured in a TikTok video with the outreach car that went viral. He's been with the EOS team for almost 15 years and with the library for about 25. Were you surprised at how much that blew up?
I didn't, I actually was recognized, and I was in Mexico on vacation, and this couple from the UK recognized me from the videos, which was pretty amazing.
Way.
Yeah, they're like, just randomly, like, are you like, I don't know what I forgot what they said, but they're like, they recognized me from the videos, so I guess it helps. Are
you that library guy?
Yeah.
The Milwaukee Public Library TikTok has more than 150,000 followers. Even though social media fame was unexpected, nothing is better to Koo and Kevin than meeting with patrons in the community.
Not just better than doing this though, just meeting the patrons and meeting them on a regular basis. You build that special relationship with them. And I think that's what makes this job so easy and so fun to do.
Yeah.
Even when it's raining or if it's like 30 below or something, and you're like, oh, we gotta go out. But then when you get there, you see everyone cheers you. Oh, they came today! Yay!
They're so surprised that we're there on a rainy day.
Oh, you guys came today? Or if it's like winter and it's snowing.
We didn't think you guys were gonna come.
Have you ever had to cancel, or are you?
Very few times, and we always try to reschedule if we can.
The second stop for the EOS team was Jefferson Court Senior Apartments, where the crew set up and helped even more patrons awaiting them. The library's Jenny Wright says all the planning that goes into site visits instantly pays off because people are always looking forward to seeing them and checking out new materials.
I think I just really love like the energy of how excited people are to read about that one favorite author, that one favorite book. Oh, I was really looking forward to seeing this DVD. There's a lot of residents that say that, like they look forward to this all month long. I mean, you don't really know how much they're getting out, how many people are visiting them, but they can count on this. It's like a dependable service that they know is coming. And I think also I find that a lot of people who live in these facilities are, I have something in common with them, which is we've been reading our whole lives. It's just a very loved hobby. And so it's really fun to talk to people about, that one great book, that one great author. Did you read this? Did you know it was going to become a series? And just having those conversations are great. You can just feel their energy, that they're excited to participate in using their library.
Oh, no, she's gonna.
All right, here you are.
I love these things.
For Lake Effect, I'm Audrey Nowakowski.
That piece was produced by Lake Effect's Audrey Nowakowski. It featured Jenny Wright, Kevin Atkinson, and Ku Vang from the Milwaukee Public Library's Educational Outreach Services team. And did you know you can listen to Lake Effect as a podcast? Search for Lake Effect wherever you get your podcasts to download and listen on demand. In about 15 minutes, we'll visit the Fondy Food Market to learn what you can find there and what it gives to the community. But first, we'll learn all about Chimney Swifts. That's coming up next on Lake Effect on 89.7 WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR. This is Lake Effect on 89.7 WUWM. I'm Joy Powers. Calling all Swifties. There's a small, fast-flying bird known for a tornado-like dance they perform in the sky. They're called Chimney Swifts, and you can find them putting on a show at a chimney near you. Brenna Marsacek is the director of outreach with the Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance. She says that at dusk, the birds will dive headfirst into a chimney to roost, sometimes by the thousands. Marsacek joins Lake Effect's Exurit Nunez to share more about swifts and what's being done to protect them.
Brenna, before we dive in to talk about how spectacular these birds are, what is it about chimney swifts that fascinates you?
Hands down, my favorite thing about chimney swifts is their swirling tornado roosting behavior that they do each fall. And we can go into that more in a little while. And the way that they sound. I love their calls. They make a high-pitched kind of twittering, fast, repetitive, bubbly noise, and it just sounds like happiness to me when I hear it. It's always, from above because they're almost always flying. So it's a fun thing to hear and then look up and have that audio experience confirmed by seeing the swifts darting around above you.
I was just going to say, I love how you describe, the swirling vortex of chimney swifts. But for folks who aren't familiar with chimney swifts, can you describe what they look like?
They have a really distinct body shape. Their nickname is a flying cigar. So if you can picture what a cigar looks like, where it's kind of oval shaped and stubby, and that's kind of what the body of a chimney swift looks like. They have a short tail. Their beaks are short and pointy. They have really long wings for their body size, which helps them be super acrobatic flyers. So when you see them flying, you can tell right away that it's a chimney swift. If you have that image in mind of the flying cigar, you can tell that that's what you're looking at.
And you mentioned that they have tiny bills. What do they eat?
Yeah, that tiny bill is an indicator of their diet. So usually birds that have small or short and pointy beaks are insectivores. And that's what chimney swifts are. They're called aerial insectivores because they eat almost exclusively insects and they eat almost entirely while flying. They eat lots of different types of insects. They can eat flies and wasps and beetles, maybe some mosquitoes, but they're usually flying a little bit higher up. So whatever insects are up higher in the air column is what they're eating. And I recently read that they can use their bills to catch a larger insect that they can eat. But with smaller insects, it just goes straight down the hatch while they're flying. So they fly with their mouths open and they just swallow them right while they're flying.
That's amazing. And like I mentioned earlier, chimney swifts have already started to migrate out of Wisconsin. Can you tell me more about their migration patterns?
Typically, we start seeing chimney swifts in Wisconsin in April or so. They come from a long ways away. So they spend their winters in South America in the Amazon basin. So in countries like Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Brazil, they migrate around 3,000 miles to get to places like Wisconsin for their nesting season. So they spend their summers in the eastern half of the United States, east of the Rockies, more or less, and even into southern Canada. So this is where they nest. They nest in chimneys and in silos and other, originally they would have nested in like a hollow dead tree prior to the construction of all these chimneys. But now chimneys are just kind of the perfect habitat for them, so they often use them for nesting and roosting. So they arrive in Wisconsin in April, they spend their summers here, and then typically late August through September is when they migrate back down to the Amazon basin.
So you mentioned nesting and roosting. For people who aren't familiar with those terms, what's the difference between the two?
So nesting is when two adults will build a nest, and with chimney swifts, that's built on the inside of a chimney. It's like a half of a small bowl that you would imagine in your kitchen cupboard. They build that out of twigs and spit, and they stick it to the side of the chimney on the inside. And they lay their eggs and raise their young from this spot. And there are other adults that will sometimes fly in and out and bring food and help with that nesting, but there's only one nest per chimney. Roosting is different in that that's when big flocks of swifts will come together and come down from flying and just cling and sleep inside of a chimney for the night. So that is typically many, many swifts inside of one chimney per night. They're not raising young, they're just coming together to sleep for the night, probably because with so many of them being in the chimney, they can help each other stay warm and avoid predators, so if there's a flock of hundreds or thousands of swifts, it's power in numbers. It's more challenging for a predator to target, one particular bird as it's coming out of the chimney.
So say that someone sees this, this huge swift NATO swirl in the sky. Are they as abundant as people might think?
That's a really important question. So chimney swifts are not as abundant as they used to be. And what these swift NATO, these swirling vortexes that happen before they come into roost, what that might give the illusion of, because they were just this year classified as a tipping point species in the 2025 State of the Birds report. So that means that they have lost more than 50% of their population in the last 50 years. And they were classified as an orange alert, which means that they're down by 50% and their declines have sped up a lot in the last 10 years. So that's a really serious problem for chimney swifts. And we think that it's because they are losing habitat, which for chimney swifts is chimneys, and other places that they could roost, like hollow trees or silos. These are things that are less abundant on the landscape now than they used to be. And because they're aerial insectivores. And we know that the insect population is down, and as a result, so are the animals that rely on these insects.
Right. That makes sense. I'm Lake Effect's Excret Nunez, speaking with Brenna Marsacek about chimney swift conservation. So we've been talking about how amazing chimney swifts are, but they are a vulnerable species. You've listed some of the biggest threats to their population. What are some things being done to help chimney swifts? it's clear that protecting roosting sites is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great question because it's really solutions focused and what we can do to reverse this trend. And fortunately, there are things. So some of it has to do with chimneys. If there are old chimneys that need to be maintained, sometimes that's pretty expensive. So, helping fund chimney maintenance and restoration is a great way to keep these large roosting chimneys in operation and available to swifts during their migration so that they can come down and roost. Home chimneys are a bit complicated, right? Because they are often capped to exclude critters like raccoons and birds, and that includes chimney swifts just by default, because once it's capped, the chimney swift can't get in there to nest or to roost. So there are ways to avoid capping that prevents, rain from coming in, but allows chimney swifts to be able to enter. And if you have a chimney that is not capped and not lined with a metal liner, making sure that the chimney is cleaned out or swept during non-nesting periods, in early April or after the summer's end. That's a great way to make sure that the chimney is not full of soot and gunk on the inside walls, because that can cause the nest to kind of slip and fall off. As aerial insectivores, another thing that we can do for them is to plant native plants, because native plants support many times more insects than ornamental plants do. And along those lines, reducing or eliminating use of pesticides at home or in areas that we can control is really important for that same reason. And then I'd also say that participating in or hosting even Swift Night Out events is a really great way to just raise that community awareness of this important, awesome bird that does this amazing thing and what their conservation needs are. So, it introduces people to what these birds are, helps them fall in love with them like so many people do when they watch these Swift Night Out events, and then maybe do some work to help protect them as well.
And another conservation project I just wanted to bring up is Swift Towers. Can you talk a little bit more about what that is?
So Swift Towers is a concept that allows people to create man-made structures that ideally chimney swifts would use as a nesting and or a roosting spot. So picture a chimney, but usually they're freestanding and made of wood. So they kind of have that chimney look, but they're not attached to a building and they're not used for typical chimney purposes. So Cherokee Heights Middle School is a wonderful spot for chimney swifts, especially during migration, because it's a big old chimney that can host thousands, upwards of 1,500 birds in a single night. We often have Swift Night Out events there because it's reliably great for watching chimney swifts. And of course, not every year will chimney swifts use that particular chimney, but it's a really big and a really great roosting spot for them. This particular chimney is interesting too because this middle school is in need of a new building, and funding for that has been approved, and so they'll get a new building within the next few years. So our organization is working really hard on coming up with a way to still preserve this site as a roosting site, even when the old building along with the chimney is torn down. So we're proposing that the new school have a faux chimney attached to it. A similar tower has been built in Manitoba, Canada, successfully, and it's large. It'd be a similar size to what the current chimney on the school is, so that it can continue to host that many chimney swifts each night during migration. So it's a really exciting project, and we're just in the beginning of talking with neighbors and the school district and the staff at Cherokee Heights itself. So we're hoping that this is something that we can partner with them on in the coming years.
Absolutely. And I'll have to follow up with you on, the status of that project as it goes on. Well, Brenna, we've reached the end of Chirp Chat, which is when I usually ask people to highlight a bird for the month. But for this episode, I'd like to ask you, in addition to chimney swifts, what's another bird you're keeping an eye out for?
Good question. I'm going to say nighthawks, common nighthawks. This is a really fun time. And actually, it's a great pairing with chimney swifts because nighthawks are often flying around in similar areas at similar times as when chimney swifts form this swirling vortex of birds that go into the chimney at night. So when you see a bigger bird that has white bars underneath its wings flying around near chimney swifts, that is a common nighthawk, and they're also wonderful birds that are really fun to spot. So I'm keeping an eye out for those as well.
I will too. Well, Brenna, thanks so much for talking to me today and telling me more about how important chimney swifts are and how to protect them.
Thank you. It's been great talking with you, and thank you to everyone listening.
Brenna Marsacek is the Director of Outreach with the Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance, formerly known as Madison Audubon. She spoke with Lake Effect's Excret Nunez for a series we call Chirp Chat. Coming up next, we're heading to the Fondy Farmers Market. It's Milwaukee's oldest farmers market. That's next on Lake Effect on 89.7 WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR. You're listening to Lake Effect on 89.7 WUWM. I'm Joy Powers. The Fondy Farmers Market is the oldest farmers market in the city of Milwaukee. For more than a century, it's brought produce and other goods fresh from the farms where they're grown. Although it's closed this time of year, in the spring, summer, and fall, the market has everything, from fruits and vegetables to fresh juices and other health and wellness products. Venus Williams is the executive director of the Fondy Food Center, which runs the market. She's also the regular contributor for our series Dig In. I joined her at the market this summer to learn more. We are here with the lovely Venus Williams. Venus, as always, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for coming out to the Fondy Farmers Market here on a beautiful, humid July day as we are celebrating 107 years of this space.
107 years. That is such a long time for a farmer's market, especially.
Yes, it has been in a few different locations. We've been here since 2020-ish. But indeed, by the time we hit a July morning, Saturday morning here in Milwaukee, this is one of the most vibrant places to be.
It really is kind of the peak of the growing season, it feels like. As you look around the market, there's so much abundance.
There is abundance, and yet we are not at our peak yet. I say we reach our peak when you see tomatoes and corn. Okay. So maybe another 2 weeks when the red tomatoes begin to show up and the corn is harvested. So we reach our peak at about the second week of August, and you come here and you buy way more than you will ever cook in a week, and you share it with your neighbors, but the fresh produce just brings you so much joy. And the people, the energy, the diversity, it's just an amazing place to be.
It is an incredibly diverse market. There is a lot of different produce to choose from, some that people might not be familiar with.
Exactly. A lot of the Asian greens, even when I come to one of the Hmong farmers and I ask, what is this? And they're like, I don't know the name of it in English. But that's part of the beauty of everything as well. So you come and you experiment, and fortunately in this day and age with all of our apps, you can take a picture and it can tell you what the green is. Or you can just have some fun like we did a few weeks ago after we had a guest chef who made a 5-green gumbo with greens that he didn't necessarily know what they were, and it was so good. And I have done the same thing since then. So it's a place to learn, to explore, and to understand as well that for a lot of people, things that they weed, like this purslane, even at Alice's Garden, we are harvesting purslane all the time. People look at this particular plant and they pull it up when it is tasty, it's high in nutrients, and in many cultures, it's something that you're going to stew up and add to some meat. For me, I, of course, just added to some of my other greens. Last week, I did it with a stir fry with yellow squash and zucchini and onions that I got from the market. So it's also understanding that things that we discard very often, like lamb's quarter, again, something else that we pull from our gardens and from the cracks of our cement, but the abundance of creation is there for a reason. We just no longer are connected enough to plants and soil and earth to understand it.
Looking at both lamb's quarters and purslane, these are things that I've seen in my garden. I'm going to guess a lot of people have seen in their gardens. And yeah, they weed them out because they think, oh, this is just something that flew in, not knowing how useful they can be.
Exactly. We think if we don't plant it, that it's not beneficial because we didn't make it appear. Well, guess what? Creation is more wise and abundant than we are. So it's a gift from creation. Learn what to do with it.
Very nice. What would you say are some of your favorite things about coming to the market, especially this time of year?
One of the things that I like has absolutely nothing to do with food, but with language. So when I'm walking through the market and I can hear 3, 4, 5 different languages being spoken, it brings tears to my eyes because it means that we are reaching deep into the city of Milwaukee to engage community related to food and in ways that are just so healthy and beneficial.
It feels like that's a real continuation, too, of Milwaukee's history. I'm sure 100 years ago the languages were different, but...
Exactly. So when you look at the history of the Fondy Farmers Market, and it was German, it was Norwegian, it was Italian, and in a document that we have that talks about the shift and the history of all of that, the Great Migration was the first shift when black folks left the South and went anywhere but South and landed in Milwaukee. That was really the first shift in the market here. And then now we have seen the Southeast Asian shift here in the city of Milwaukee and thus the market.
So if this is your first time coming to the Fondy market, what is your big piece of advice for people when they come here?
It's like coming to a fresh produce maker's market mall. Do a complete walkthrough first. Come up to all of the vendor stalls. Come down the path and see what's available so you know what you want and what speaks to you. Also, engage the farmers. Ask the question, how do I prepare this? How do you cook this? What do you suggest I do with this? Whether you're talking about the fresh produce and even with the juices. We have 2 very engaging juice vendors, and the juices and the sea mosses that they blend are as healthy as the produce. So engage both Kamar and Candace and ask them about their juices. What are their benefits? When should I drink this? Tell me about the nutrients and all of the minerals within these juices.
That sounds exactly like how my husband goes to every farmer's market. Please tell me all this stuff.
Right. And as creators, right, as makers, as producers of these things, we love telling you about our product. So learn. Don't come here and think you're going to be in and out. Don't do an in and out. Linger. Have some lunch or breakfast. When we get finished here, I'm getting ready to have some salmon and grits for breakfast.
Very nice. Now, you are a voracious reader. Anyone who has been to your home will know this. What are you reading right now?
What I want to highlight today is actually a magazine, a journal, and that's Willow and Sage. So I have pulled out all of my past copies and recent issue of Willow and Sage. Willow and Sage is herbal based. You know, it's about making soaps and creams and body oils, all of the things for our body. So I'm suggesting the quarterly journal, Willow and Sage, today. We want to keep magazines and journals going. Please pick up a copy of Willow and Sage. It delights your senses. The journal itself is such eye candy.
Very nice. Well, Venus, as always, thank you for joining us, and thank you for showing us around the market.
Thank you for coming out, and see you at the Fondy Farmers Market.
Venus Williams is the executive director of the Fondy Food Center and Alice's Garden Urban Farm. She's also our regular contributor for Dig In. You can find all of our Dig In conversations from the year at WUWM.com. And that wraps up today's show. Thank you so much for being here with us. I'm Joy Powers. If you missed any of Lake Effect this week, you can find all of our conversations at WUWM.com. If you'd like to take the show on the go, you can download the Lake Effect podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Join us for a special Christmas edition of the show tomorrow. We'll bring you holiday music played on the pipe organ at Milwaukee's Oriental Theater. Thanks so much for joining us right here on listener-supported 89.7 WUWM, Milwaukee's NPR.